All right, guys. We are live. This is the UFC Sao Paulo, UFC SP, UFC Lewis versus Almeida, UFC Almeida versus Lewis, whatever you want to call it. This is the recap show on sherdog.com. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. Shaking his head, doesn't seem pleased at all. He is the senior editor, Mr. Ben Duffy. Ben, how you doing, man?
Questioning all of my life choices right now. What how did I end up here?
Yeah. So shout out to everybody in the chat. Well, we'll get to all you guys. Thanks for joining us.
Usually when I'm talking to the cops at the end of a Saturday night, my Saturday has been much more interesting than this.
So when we do the preview show, like I enjoy doing the preview show. I really do. But there's some weeks if it feels like a job. It feels like something you have to do. Sometimes it's kind of dreadful. Like, oh man, not previewing MMA fights, but I just mean like, just sometimes you're like, man, you want to watch Thursday Night Football instead of looking at some guy you never heard of. Just the recap show never feels that way to me. The recap show is always fun. It's we're going off the cuff. We're not prepared. We're not doing all this type study. We're just talking about what we saw. Today's the exception, my man. Like, what the fuck?
I cannot remember a 10-fight card that felt longer than this.
Yeah, I think Bass said that in the chat. Like,
yeah, good call, Bass, man. Whoa.
Yeah. So,
all right. Well, here, I mean, if I came to you from a time machine, Sunday morning, back when we were talking about these fights a week ago, and I said, okay, so Vince Pichel's fight is going to get yanked the day before, and it's not going to be his fault. And Almeida versus Lewis is going to be both longer and more boring than Mays versus Nascimento. You would have said, shut up, time traveler. I know you're lying.
So shout out to my boy, Sean Bitter. He does a lot of the prospect stuff for
MMA Wizard on Twitter. Follow the man.
Yeah, he's the absolute man when it comes to MMA prospect stuff. He has this like ongoing, I don't know what you got to call it, like little group on Twitter where you pay so much money and you play in these competitions, and I do it every time with him. Like I never win, but I do it every time. It's just fun. And so one of them we had to bet like all guys at plus money or stuff like that. And I'm not a gambler to begin with, so I kind of was in a disadvantage. I didn't realize you could do like multiple parlays to whatever. Your bet had to be plus money, however you wanted to do it. And I wasn't doing that. I was picking upsets. But what the catch was, if you got eliminated, you could pick over 1,000, plus 1,000, and if you win, you're back in. I got eliminated, so I'm like, all right, I might as well at least try one plus 1,000, of course, and I'm not going to do a lot of research on what's plus 1,000 and try to figure out what's the one. So I go, the first thing I click on Lewis versus Almeida, it's plus 1,400. I go, all right, give me that. That goes the distance. Give me that. I'm back in the competition, my man. I was the only person when it got to about the fourth round. I was like, holy shit, like maybe I should start rooting for this to go to the decision. So Ninja Kitty says had to come in for a never-ending story. That was a never-ending fight, that seemed like.
Yeah, well, the never-ending story reference is Keith now understands the part where the dude just has to look into the mirror and like panics and freaks out and runs away. I need to Photoshop that with a picture of tonight's headliner in the mirror.
Derrick Lewis on the ground felt like the horse just sinking in the mud slowly. but like
Artex, don't let the sadness of the swamps take you.
But imagine the head of the horse just staying above the mud the whole time, but somehow still sinking. So like he doesn't die.
Derrick Lewis is that horse.
Like that whole scene is 25 minutes instead of 25 seconds.
Like the swamps of sadness.
Oh my lord.
UFC Fight Night 231, Swamps of Sadness. Oh, yeah. I feel better already.
I feel bad for all the people who join in who's like 17 years old and doesn't get our 1980s references. But man, like I said, this felt like a job tonight watching this main event, talking about it. it felt like so. You know what the worst thing was? I didn't even want to put this on the dude seriously because it doesn't even deserve it. When Jailton Almeida is in, his home country, obviously he got the biggest pop. He's the main event guy. He's the guy that they're hoping to be the future champion of UFC, and he has one of the most boring performances in the history. And guys, listen, I'm a wrestling guy. Like NCAA wrestling just started. I already watched a bunch of matches. I was talking with one of the listeners today that we chat with a lot. Luke and we were talking about what happened in Virginia Tech and all this stuff. Like I love wrestling. I mean, I don't know who's in the MMA media sphere that follows wrestling as close as I do. I'm sure there's somebody, but I'm at least in the club.
You're it. If there's anyone else, they are a wrestling guy that also does MMA. Of the people that are an MMA guy first, you follow amateur wrestling more closely than anyone.
Yeah, I mean, if there's not, that's fine. It doesn't matter. My point is like I'm at wrestling practice 3 days a week. I love wrestling. It's neck and neck, MMA and wrestling, for how much I love it. But when you have two top wrestlers going at it, Joey McKenna and Yanni Diamakouhalis that happened, this weekend, and the level and the scrambles and that's exciting. Seeing Derrick Lewis lay on his back being controlled, it's not. And anybody who says like jiu-jitsu and that was fun, and Almeida said, "Oh, did I put on a great show?" and the crowd cheers, like, fuck off. Like, no, you did not enjoy that. It's like when Ben watches what's that stupid movie that people like the critics say is great, but it's terrible.
Oppenheimer?
Yeah, Oppenheimer wasn't as good as I thought it was gonna be. No, an old one, it's a classic. They have it like top 100 ever. 2001 Space Odyssey. That movie sucks. No one really likes it. It's so freaking boring. And then like hipsters like Ben tries to be like seem like better in society and saying they enjoyed it. They don't enjoy that. Watching a guy like float off in space for like 20 minutes straight.
Open the octagon door, Hal. I can't do that, Dave.
I mean, I felt like I was watching a soccer match today. That's how boring it was.
Oh man! Shout out! Quick soccer note. Shout out to Sherdog's Christian Stein, one of our Portuguese-speaking Brazilian contributors, for pointing out that Almeida wrapped himself in the flag of Flamengo when Fluminense just won a championship today. They are nemesis teams. I don't know if he was trying to rile up the crowd, but it was.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
I'm talking about some Brazilian soccer that I barely understand. I don't understand myself, but I understand that it's important.
And before you Europeans come at me, and all you Brazilians and all these anybody who doesn't live in America, I'm just jabbing you. I'm just kidding. Don't come out of the because I'll make a jab on Twitter, and then like the flood works just come in. I'm like, oh my god, most popular sport in the world, blah blah blah. It's like, guys, relax. It's the most popular sport in the world. Stop being so insecure. It's just a friendly jab.
Yeah.
Just because the weakest guy in the NFL could kick the shit out of the toughest guy in soccer, but it's okay, dude. It's okay.
Yeah. Even the guys in the NFL whose only job is to kick the ball and are the wimpiest guys on the team could whoop on some soccer players. Like kickers and punters, give me those guys all day.
I would enjoy. This is how bad we don't want to talk about the main event. I would enjoy watching. I can name like 2 soccer players in the world, like Ronaldo and Messi. It'd be pretty cool to watch those guys kick field goals. I assume they'd be
with a little practice. Give them a week to kick at American football. I bet they would be pretty damn good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's the field goals in the NFL is about as many goals that happen in a soccer match. So, all right, let's get right into this. So. Almeida takes on Derrick Lewis. He wins every single minute of the match.
Lewis has 2 moments of interesting offense where you're thinking, okay, this might be turning. Like one in the 3rd round, one in the 5th round. Neither of them were that serious, and Almeida managed to suck him back to the ground. That was it.
Yeah. He gets the biggest win. It's obviously dominant, But his stock didn't go up today, did it?
No, it did not. He held serve only in the sense that if the UFC's plans involve him continuing to climb towards the title, then he won and he's got a fight that in his back pocket. Yeah, I beat perennial contender Derrick Lewis that only the very best of the best beat. And the more time that goes by, it'll be easier to forget and bury the details of it, where it should have been a lot worse of a beating. This fight should have been over in the first round. It should have been over in the second round. Should have been over in the fourth round. But yeah, I mean, it certainly wasn't a star-making moment.
Yeah, Marcus must have talking about Mark Goddard telling him, "Don't look at me." That was the most entertaining part of the fight.
Yep.
like him,
dude.
And I'm gonna say something. Mark Goddard is a very good referee. He can come off like a dick a little bit. Like he yes. But like he's good. He's good. Like I'm not
usually, yeah.
Usually, yeah. I mean, obviously he's had moments, but usually he's pretty good. But I was way more entertaining with that. I was hoping him and Almeida start yelling at each other or something. I mean, Derrick Lewis is he is what he is. But the avenue, I mean, he's a much better fighter. His results are much better than his skills because he has ungodly power. He's got way better timing than he gets credited for, way better athleticism. Like, he's got a lot of good skills, but he also still has huge glaring weaknesses for a guy who's been this successful in MMA.
Yes.
And that glaring weaknesses have been terrible takedown defense. He does get up, but his ability to get up is kind of grossly overrated. And bad submission defense. This is the guy on paper when we go across jiu-jitsu. I'm not talking about wrestlers. Obviously, DC wrestling. And if you want to call him equal, DC's wrestling and Almeida's jiu-jitsu, okay. But Almeida's supposed to be that guy. He's supposed to be the new generation. He's supposed to be the new fill-in,
Yeah.
Fabricio Verdum. You compared him to
heavyweight Jacare.
Jacare, yeah, but very fair. Like, you can't be on top of Derrick Lewis for probably about 24 minutes and not get a stoppage.
And UFC stats will do their cutting and snipping and correction, and they'll put out some hard numbers late tomorrow. But I would not be surprised if this breaks the record for top control in a fight and breaks the record for dominant positions like mount and back mount in a fight. Like, at the end of the fourth round, so after 20 minutes of fighting, he was unofficially at 16 and a half minutes of top control, and it didn't get better in the fifth. So say he racks up 20 minutes of top control in a 25-minute fight, and almost half of that top control is actually back control or full mount. Those might be records. That was the sitting on top of somebody equivalent of Max Holloway punch numbers. Just not nearly as fun to watch, obviously.
Ben Askren found that boring. Like, that's how boring that was.
Yeah, Ben Askren's, I'm turning this shit
off. 30C West says Keith is like Pele, Diego Maradona, and Brandi Chastain. I know who Pele is. I don't know his last name, but I know his name's Pele.
He's Brazilian. He didn't have a last name.
Yeah.
His last name was actually Nascimento. Kind of interesting.
Was it?
Anyway,
that's like Smith though. And
Maradona was the guy that snorted enough cocaine to keep all of the economies of South America running throughout the 70s and early 80s.
I have no clue who that guy is.
Brandi Chastain once took her shirt off on TV.
Oh, okay, yeah, the American.
Yes.
Okay, when he's okay, so I know who that is. Yeah. I wouldn't be able to pick her out of a photo lineup, but I know her bra better than I know her skills.
Yeah, it would depend on what she was wearing in the photo lineup.
Yeah, maybe. And the Maradona guy, I don't know, but hey, listen, don't do it. Like, it's a super popular sport. It is what it is. Like, that's why it's the sport of all your terrible countries. Anyways, I didn't want to talk about this. Like.
Okay, let me ask you a hypothetical.
Okay.
Obviously, new opponent on 2 or 3 weeks' notice. MMA math is invalid, but how does Almeida do against Blades tonight if Blades walks?
It's a much tougher matchup for sure. I mean, I think we thought that already. What I saw today, there was a lot of good. So first of all, his wrestling was great. I mean, his entries, I think it was in the very first round, he shot a single, switched off to a double. Like, that was really good. A lot of times he's making entries. He's getting the what they call like the shoulder control. If you can get your shoulder on an entry behind somebody and your head behind them on the entry, that's like that's the position when you shoot a double you never get to, but that's where you want to get to.
Yep.
Where you're already past the hips, one shoulder behind, head behind. That is real dominance. He got to those positions a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, controlling Derrick Lewis. Derrick Lewis is much bigger than him. There's a lot of good done. But man, I think I'm taking Curtis Blades.
I think I'm
Curtis
taking Curtis
Blades
too.
finishes that fight. You
Curtis
put Curtis Blades in the same position. I know that's not fair. But
yeah.
But fuck it. We're a recap show. We got to talk about something. You replace Jailton Almeida today with Curtis Blades. Put Curtis Blades on top of Derrick Lewis for 25 minutes. I think Curtis Blades stops him.
I agree, and I don't think Almeida gets most of those takedowns on Blades. Blades is a much better technical wrestler, almost as athletic, and much bigger.
Yeah.
Like Blades is a not fat 255 pounds. He's 20 pounds heavier than Almeida, and it's not the Lewis kind of like spare tire thing.
Does anybody, and I'll throw this out of the chat. I mean, I know the fight was just canceled a couple weeks ago. Does anybody have the bet what the betting lines were for them, Almeida and Blades?
Give me just a moment.
I'm sure someone in the chat will find it for us.
Okay.
Who did you think was going to be like? Did you? I know you didn't probably don't look. I know you set up the week of the fight, but who do you
Almeida
think
was the favorite.
Almeida was the favorite, but how much?
The one book I see, he was like minus 180. Blades around plus 150.
Really?
Which, dude, on the preview, I would have been hammer that.
Okay. If they fight, UFC runs it back. Like, hey, that's the fight we want.
I don't think Almeida is the favorite if they run it back.
It's at least a pick 'em, right?
I think so.
If something happened, and I know obviously this is a week away, but say tonight Derrick Lewis got hurt, he couldn't fight, and Thomas Aspinall fell out, whatever. So both, way the calendar is, they just say, hey, luck of the draw, Almeida, you're fighting for the title against Sergey Pavlovich. Before tonight, what do you think the bet line was? Who do you think would have been the favorite?
I think Pavlovich would have been a slight to moderate favorite.
Now he's probably a pretty big favorite.
I think now he's a big favorite.
And flip it, same with Aspinall, right?
I think Aspinall might have been a favorite to start with. Just I think he would have been perceived as a tougher style matchup for Almeida. Just a bigger guy who's also incredibly nimble and a good wrestler. And now I think it would be wider.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, same as I said for Blades on the preview. I think if Aspinall fights Almeida, the fight only goes to the ground if, when, and how Aspinall wants it. I don't think Almeida gets automatic takedowns on him like he did all night against Lewis.
I think it's tougher. He's a really good wrestler. I think he can take down most guys. But with ease, with controlling 25 minutes is different. But like getting a takedown,
yeah,
I'd give him that. He's a very good wrestler. We don't want to throw the baby out of the bag. I know you're not doing that, but I'm just saying.
I do like, and you pointed it out. He's showing technique. That's always the toughest thing with these guys. And we missed seeing Rodolfo Vieira fight tonight. He would have been my perfect counterexample, where Vieira is a good MMA wrestler, but he finishes takedowns with pure diesel. He finishes takedowns that a guy that wasn't as strong as him wouldn't be able to finish from the positions he does. And that doesn't automatically mean you're bad. I always bring up Michael Chandler as my example, where in college and in MMA, he would sometimes just hoist dudes and throw them after they sprawled perfectly on him. But Almeida has progressed past that. You mentioned that. He's gotten good at turning a double into a single. He actually will, he'll do a sort of run the pipe. He, in the case of Lewis, where Lewis's takedown defense is very predictable, kind of sprawl as best you can while backing towards the fence. He was good at just kind of threatening to take back control standing and then drag him down that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I just want to shout out to Matt Pauly joining us the first time. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, dude. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I mean that's what I want to pump the brakes a little bit. Like we're kind of shitting on Almeida, but it's like he's still 50-45, a top 10 guy in the world.
Yeah,
dominate every second. Don't jump off too much, but I mean it was a boring performance. I think obviously John Jones would be a betting favorite against him. Pavlovich. Aspinall. I don't know who's the favorite between Pavlovich and Aspinall. I don't want to know until we do the preview.
Sure. I won't spoil it.
I'm sure it's very close. Like I like both guys so much. It just, man, like he didn't make a lot of fans. Sergey Spivak beat Derrick Lewis recently in 3 minutes on the ground. DC
with the same approach, but a greater sense of urgency.
Yeah, and he's a little bit bigger. I mean, I get it. It's not totally fair, but he beat him in 3 minutes. DC beat him in like the second round.
Yeah.
Spivak
beat him, and nobody's pounding on the table for Spivak to fight for a title in one of his next 2 fights. People are doing that for Jailton Almeida.
But it's not like he went now. He's definitely not. Like I was kind of like have an idea, and we've said this before. What I root for, I never really root for my picks. I don't root for like I want this guy to win that. I always want to root for the most exciting thing to talk about. Like give me the best thing to talk about. That's what I root for. And one of the things I kind of have ideas what I want to talk about, and one thing I want to have is if I was hoping that Almeida would run right through Lewis, take him down, sub him. Like I expect when he took him down, I go, oh man, it's gonna be quick. It's gonna be 3 minutes. He's gonna stand up and be like, holy shit, he didn't get a punch landed on him, subbed him 3 minutes, and I was gonna line him up like, hey, be ready in case something happens. Don't take a fight. Be the next guy.
Yeah,
because with John Jones being out for a while, Stipe, who knows what his situation is, and really hasn't talked about why he didn't take a fight, or if it was offered to him or whatever, that situation. But I wanted me to be like that another new guy in town, thrown into the heavyweight mix. That's not the case. Like he called out for a fight with Sherdog. To me, that's like that has to happen. Like it's really, I mean, other than him, you do the Curtis Blades fight again.
Right. And either of those, I still like the Blades fight. In fact, if anything, I want to see it more now. And Gane would be a good fight as well because one of them gets some redemption, takes a real step forward in the division. The other takes a step even further back.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm Almeida's team management, I'm pushing. Like I think it was a wise choice to call for Gane instead of Blades. I think Blades is a tough matchup. I think Gane's a bigger name. Not that either one has too much shine, but a little bit more fan base. If you go to France, I think like Blades is what he is at this point. He doesn't have a fan base. He's got family members stuff. You know what I mean? Like, he kind of falls in that Bilal Muhammad kind of hate mode. Yeah, Derrick Lewis. What are we doing, Derrick? I mean, he's always gonna be a fan favorite. He's gonna say something funny. I think the Volkov fight is long overdue. The rematch.
Volkov rematch works for me. Or use him to prove the next Jailton Almeida, the next guy that's just coming up on a pretty good win streak, but hasn't been proven against a top 10 guy yet. Let one of those guys have a crack at him.
Who is it though? A heavyweight.
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, maybe it is just another guy in the top 10 or 15 coming off a loss or two like him. Like,
yeah. I would do like Derrick Lewis. I'm still good with him being like a fight night.
Hell, like look at Dev, our third tag team partner here. Nascimento just won the night. He's actually won a few fights. Boom. There you go.
I have no idea who that guy is. Yeah, I mean, we'll get to Nascimento. Yeah, I mean, give me Lewis.
Dude,
give me
Bobby
Lewis.
Boucher for the win against Alexander Romanov. You can see it now. Romanov throws Lewis all over the place for 3 minutes, gasses out, and gets fucking knocked out of the octagon.
yeah, absolutely. I do the Volkov. I mean, he was winning that fight, kind of like everything. I mean, they mentioned it on this broadcast, being like, "Hey, we've seen Lewis lose an entire fight, and then come back and land a haymaker." Kind of how they're trying to get you so you don't change the channel or whatever. Anything else you want to talk about before? I mean, this usually we try to spend a lot of time in it. This is not our usual show. It is what it is. Let's. Dev is talking about the Sherdog MMA fantasy. Yeah, I think I'm in. I might Am I in last place? I think I'm in last place.
I'm going to do a points update tomorrow.
Okay. Please don't. Please don't. Because I've had some screw jobs going on. One, Alex Volkanovski decides to take a fight and move up and fight like the best guy in the world. Thanks. I had Valentina Shevchenko not win the title. That was going to score me tons of points. What else did I have? There's something else happened. I don't even remember my team.
It's Jay that has Israel Adesanya, right?
Yeah, he might be. It's me and him at the weight. It's like you and Dev are like neck and neck at the top. There's like a huge gap, like the size of the Grand Canyon, and then it's me and Jay.
Well, Jay Adesanya like hit the hat trick. He like lost, got arrested, and retired in the space of a week. Jason's like, well, shit.
Yeah, that was his first pick. Yeah. We got me and Jay are like, hey, you know what though? I'm doing good in the fantasy football league in Sherdog. Even though I lost this week, I think it was Jay. I think Jay beat me this week. My first loss.
Anyway. We want to talk about Gabriel Bonfim versus Nicholas Dalby. It's kind of funny that we're delaying talking about one of the best fights on the card, or at least one of the best performances, like a real fun one in Bonfim versus Dalby. You are muted. I think your mic might have actually come unplugged from the crackle I heard.
Sorry.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, sorry about that. I got too many things on my table right now. I probably yeah, this is like another one of those things where I always root for the most exciting thing to talk about, and obviously the most exciting thing to talk about would be the rise of Gabriel Bonfim if he smoked Nicholas Dalby. But this is one thing we talked about. Like, we both picked Bonfim, we both picked him to win. I mean, he was a huge favorite, but we also mentioned Nicholas Dalby is what was he like? He was something stupid. Like, he was like a negative 600 favorite or something.
Bonfim was minus 625.
Yeah, and we were like, yeah, he should win. He's a minus 625 favorite, but this isn't an easy toss up. Like, Dalby's going to challenge him, and that's what happened. Bonfim looked fantastic, especially on the ground early, taking him down, controlling him, beating him up. But we've said it over and over, and I feel like it's been even more recently, probably the last year and a half or so. Just talking about pressure, like how pressure can just fool people and change people. Just talk to me about. I mean, Nicholas Dalby. That's one of my guys. I love him.
Talk about the pressure. The pressure broke his brother. Ismail Bonfim fell off this card because he blew weight and his opponent blew weight. His opponent went back and made the weight, and he refused to even try. Like, the pressure broke the other Bonfim brother. But here, yeah, Gabriel Bonfim for the first round of this fight was goods as advertised. Thrashing Nicholas Dalby, really making it look easy in a way that not many people do against Dalby, even top-level fighters. But you know what? Bonfim he came into this on obviously completely undefeated, but came in on 5 straight first-round finishes. Neither of his fights in the UFC had lasted longer than 90 seconds. It was worth asking, what's it look like if he is winning, but the guy doesn't go away in a round? And we found out. And the thing is, it isn't just gassing out, because first round began, Bonfim picked right up where he left off and was beating Dalby in the second round, but Dalby would not go away. And I won't recite my whole BJ Penn rant here, but it's worth noting that Bonfim only started looking tired once Dalby started hurting him.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Then all of a sudden the booth is like, Bonfim looks tired. His mouth is open. His mouth is open because Dalby punched him. Like,
that'll do it to you.
It's never a one-to-one analog. Like, as you're fond of saying, these guys aren't storming the beaches at Normandy. They aren't holding up the flag on Iwo Jima. These are professional athletes fighting. So you never want to.
Nicholas Dalby could, though. Nicholas Dalby could.
I mean, does Denmark have 6 soldiers? He might have to put that flag up alone. But you never want to draw a one-on-one comparison between beating adversity in life and beating adversity in the cage. But knowing what you know about Nicholas Dalby in life and in the cage, you knew he wasn't going to quit. And not just the Derrick Lewis, I'm going to make it to the end of this fight, but I'm never going to stop trying to win this fight until you beat or choke me unconscious. That's Nicholas Dalby. Tough as they come. Depression and alcoholism got nothing for me. I got so much blood squoze out of me that the fight had to be called a no contest, but I still wanted to fight, and I was still capable of fighting, even though it was like a cross between a slip and slide and the hotel hallway from The Shining. That's Nicholas Dalby, man. He is one of our guys. Nicholas fucking Dalby. I will learn how to say fucking in Dana. It's probably the exact same. It's probably Nicholas fucking Dalby with a little circle over the, yeah, but
he's gonna be in your hall for sure. The guy's incredible. I seen a lot of people, Dev kind of mentioned it in the chat. I see a lot of people saying like, the Gabriel Bonfim is exposed. I don't believe that. I thought he looked good. I think it was going to be one of those when we look 3 years from now, like, oh man, remember when he lost Nicholas Dalby? Because there was a lot of good. His striking looked sharp. He was landing. His ground is a serious issue. But what I've always talked about when it comes to pressure, I challenge anybody. Get to runs marathons in here. Go to the local track, run a lap. Not full, just regular jog a lap forward. The next day do the same thing, but jog it backwards like a cornerback. You run it backwards, do it backwards, and see how much more tired you are. That's what happens when a guy is pressing you and you're backing up and fighting off your back foot and all this stuff. It sucks. It mentally breaks you. It sucks. And that's what happens. Nicholas Dalby was like, just imagine a guy just keeps coming and coming and coming. He mentally broke him, which I think, they're all connected. The brain's connected to the heart, it's connected to the legs, which is, whatever. know the song.
Oh yeah.
So they rematch 2 years from now. I think Bonfim wins. They rematch 6 months from now, he might win.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not sidestepping more instead of backing. Maybe he goes right to the wrestler. Maybe he conserves it. It's like there's a lot of things he can do. So I don't. This is not one of those ones where he's got to be on my stock going down Bears list. But yeah, I feel a little less confident in him, but I'm not. I'm not selling him. I'm buying him. It's buy low kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I am not off the Bonfim train by any stretch of the imagination. I think in a couple of years, whether he turns into an eventual champ or he just tops out as a guy that lives in the top 10 for a while, we'll look back on this fight as an aberration. And not an aberration that Bonfim was exposed. I think we'll look back on it and be like, you remember Nicholas Dalby's one last great glorious night when he just took it to one of the hottest prospects in the UFC. Yeah.
Exactly. Dalby's turning. I think they said he's turning 39 very soon. The end's going to come for him, and it's going to come quick, and it's going to come bad. When suddenly he can't have that cardio, or he can't walk through the punches. He can't. His durability just ends overnight. But it's going to be fun as hell until that happens, and it's incredible to be even doing it at 39 years old. And it's not like he's this guy who got in the sport late and he doesn't have a lot of fun. He's got a lot of miles on him to be fighting like this and be fighting. And I hate it. Michael Bisping says it. He said it on the podcast, oh, he's fighting better than ever. And it's sometimes you say that the guy's on a 3-fight losing streak, but it's true with Dalby. Dalby was a low-level UFC talent at best.
Yep. He washed out losing to not great fighters.
Yeah. He's creeping up there. I'm not saying he's
6-1-1 since he's back.
That's incredible. He's on a 4-fight winning streak right now.
6-1-1. It's hard for anyone to do that at welterweight.
Yeah. Now there's guys obviously I would pick to beat him. There's a long list of guys. But there's not many guys where I'm super confident. I go, oh, this guy's just gonna destroy Dalby. This is not even gonna be a match. Dalby would give. All right. Leon Edwards, the champion.
Edwards wins by decision.
Obviously, I'm taking Edwards.
Yeah, but I'm taking Edwards to win by decision, where each round is individually pretty close.
Yeah. I don't think he's ever in trouble, and he's but it's just that's what he does. To me, you know what Dalby is? He's a lesser version, and I don't mean this as an insult. I'm not one of these guys who likes making fun of this guy. I do think it's kind of funny, but he's a lesser version of Bilal Muhammad, where nothing jumps out at you what he does, but he's extremely intelligent. He fights at a crazy pace, and he just keeps moving forward and puts himself a chance to win, and then he does.
Yeah.
You
Generally
know?
a little more fun to watch than Bilal, but the overall vibe, yeah.
But the vibe is to keep taking ground.
Bilal with a drop of Robbie Lawler, where you can name the things he's good at, but there's something about him that makes him better than the sum of whatever the components of his skills are. He's just born to fight.
That's fair. I like for him to get a big match next. I know he had a co-main event tonight. I like him like another co-main event of a fight night, and just keep riding this as far as we can take it. Before that, we had the rematch that the people were demanding. Jailton Almeida versus Rodrigo Nascimento 2. The fight wasn't terrible. Like it was better than I thought, especially early. I mean, at the end it was starting to fade a little bit, but
it was
the first round was entertaining.
The first round was entertaining, and even later, it was just, when I say unranked heavyweight slobber knocker, this is what I mean. Because when it's entertaining, and it's at least in part because both these guys are so bad defensively. Just basic shit, like wading in with your hands down, that only gets worse when you get tired. Like fundamentals go out the window when fighters get tired. Just at least one time when the fight hits the ground, and neither guy really wanted it to. They're just so oafish that it ended up there. Yeah, it was fun. I didn't learn anything about either of these guys, and I didn't expect to, because neither of them had changed radically since the first fight. That's why this is such a weird rematch, because they're both still unranked, they're both still basically the same fighter, and they didn't seem to have any personal animosity. It's just the weirdest rematch.
Perhaps this is. I think what happened. I think they booked this fight too heavyweight, and then they didn't realize they already fought each other. Like I just think all right, well, let's get a
some unpaid intern meekly raises his hand in the corner.
Yeah, like they're just like, all right, let's get these heavyweights. Like we need some heavyweights. Who hasn't fought in like 3 or 4 months? Need a fight. Jailton Almeida needs one. All right, who do we need? We'll go to Brazil. Let's get a Brazilian. Right. Nascimento.
Marcus Mustard is my listener of the night.
Oh, man. Thanks, John.
John Butterfield.
It's good that Marcus Mustard coming up with a mayonnaise joke too.
Yeah. Oh, he's representing the condiments. John Butterfield, who also, John Butterfield telling me that he watches a lot of Egyptian MMA without telling me he watches a lot of Egyptian MMA. If you don't think that was that bad, that was bad.
Bass with a Kentucky Judo Federation joke. Listen, we're not Joe Rogan. I don't know our joke's going to go back to the Kentucky Judo Federation, but I would love, if anybody knows anybody in Kentucky that has any kind of connection, I would love for them to know that we make jokes about them. It'd be great if they have their own podcast and they make fun of us. We don't even know it, or they have their meetings and they're making fun of us.
Ninja Kitty saying Jailton Mays reminds him or her of Piston Honda. Okay. Glass Joe.
Ninja Kitty coming with a lot of 1980s references.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree a little bit. I think you said they didn't look better. I thought both guys looked like they were in better shape. I give that. Like, Jailton Mays, he doesn't fight at a high pace, but he doesn't gas out like he used to when he first came to UFC. By the second, by the second round, he'd have his hands on his knees. I think Nascimento looked all right. I think he was moving forward. I think he used a lot of pressure himself. He forced Mays on his back foot like the entire same thing as we were just talking about. Yeah. Like fighting off his back foot, tightening up his strikes a little bit. A lot more coming right down the pipe, especially early. Get a little sloppy as the fight went, but the first round was okay. Listen, I'm not too excited about these guys.
Yeah, and okay, I just kind of affectionately dogged on John for defending this fight, but I will say this: Nascimento is a guy that's gonna be continually underestimated just because he looks like an oaf. He kind of looks like flabby and nondescript, but he's got pretty fast hands and is pretty nimble and quick moving on the ground for a guy that looks like he is. But he is going to get underestimated. And he might sneak up on some people, this is heavyweight. anybody in the UFC is probably 3 wins away from a top 10 opponent. So
Yeah, man, I guess man, chat is not fans of Dante
no, oh
Dante
man,
Mayonnaise and
Dante
Rodrigo Nascimento.
mayonnaise.
He's been laying off the mayonnaise. Supposedly he gained 30 pounds of muscle. I didn't see that. Like I didn't see 30 pounds of muscle, but he didn't gas out as much. Before that, a fight that I was looking forward to a lot on paper, Cal Bojano versus, I know I'm messing up his name. I'm sorry. My Brazilian is not good. Versus,
Did it about as well as Cruz or Bisping did. So
yeah, that's not saying much. Versus Abbas Magomedov. Good fight on paper, not a good fight in actual. Like
this fight was about as fun as waiting for a bus.
Sometimes you haven't been down to like downtown Providence, Kennedy Plaza. There's some good people watching downtown Providence. Pawtucket, Maine at Roosevelt. There's some good people watching over there. So, Bahano, he's athletic, he's fast. I still felt underwhelmed by him. Not enough output. He went for one takedown. I mean, he got a takedown later on when Magomedov crumbled. But like, I don't feel better about him. Magomedov, same thing. Like, he had moments in the fight, but the output, he was too gun shy. The output wasn't there. Didn't go for a takedown at all himself. There was close rounds, the first and second. I'm like, anybody goes for a takedown, they're gonna win the round. The first and second round were toss-ups, in my opinion. But one thing, and we've seen this 2 fights in a row now with Magomedov, as soon as he gets any kind of adversity, he checks out. He's gone. He's done. Mm-hmm. It was something we've said about like Terrence McKinney. I know we've said about other people, but he's starting to become poster boy of a higher level guy.
Yes. Yeah. And I think I called it his gas tank earlier on just because I always want to be really reluctant to call somebody a front runner, let alone a quitter, or some prettier way to put it, like somebody who doesn't respond well to adversity. But it's not his gas tank. He has enough gas to go. Just I'm with you, man. I mean, he did get tired in this fight, and credit to Dev. He said he gasses out like an electric toothbrush. Like as soon as he's done, it's just done.
Oh yeah, but no, my old razor, razor. Nothing like it. You're doing the razor and then it just dies. You got to plug it in. You're like, oh.
I think this was Bahalio's most disappointing UFC performance so far. I mean, again, we're talking about a fighter who is functionally undefeated. He lost his second fight. He's on a 15 fight unbeaten streak. He's functionally unbeaten.
Yeah.
Of his 5 UFC wins and 2 wins on the Contender Series, I think this was the most disappointing performance. He was a greater than 2.5 to 1 favorite, and I thought he lost the first 2 rounds. I scored. I mean, I wasn't actively scoring, but I probably would have scored this fight a draw, giving the first 2 rounds to Magomedov and a 10-8 to Bahalio in the third. And whether you thought he lost or won the first 2 rounds, he even left them up in the air to the point he did because of just crushingly low output. Yeah. He looked so tentative, and I think part of it may have been the pressure of performing in front of such an adoring crowd. I maybe there was something about that froze him up.
Could be. It's funny because he just came off his best performance against Olasejchak. Like, that's a good win, Olasejchak. Yes. You know, I think it's a much better win than he gets credited.
Dude, I take Olasejchak over Abus Magomedov tomorrow.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, like and he
I like Olasejchak. I think he's good,
and he crushed him.
Wrestling still needs to improve, but his striking is good. Yeah. His pressure is good. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so Bahalio, he's still. I think he's what 4-0 now, 5-0 now.
Who Bahalio?
Yeah, he's 5-0 in the UFC.
5-0 in the UFC. Yep.
That division. Well, it wasn't a great performance. There was moments with Dricus du Plessis, who's obviously a real contender in the division. I had moments where I'm like, he's winning fights, but he's not a real contender. I said the same thing about Sean Strickland. So while I don't think it was the best performance, like I still view him as a contender in this division.
Yeah,
like if he beat Sean Strickland, I mean, I kind of feel like we have a lot of guys right now when it comes to Sean Strickland because he's not your really over powerful, really hyped up champion, Yeah. So, the division's kind of wide open. but I still think he could win the title one day. I don't feel better about him. I feel much worse.
I think he has the potential to develop into a fighter who could win the title, but as he is currently built, there are a number of people in the top 10 that at this point I would favor comfortably over him. I needed to see more out of him here. And again, we're talking about potential. He's just 30. 30 is not old in the middleweight division by any stretch. But as he's currently constituted, no. Like he needs some changes to his approach. Some continued development of his skills would always be welcome. He still has the potential to develop into that type of fighter, but I'm not going to say let's do the quick rundown, but I'm not sure I favor him over any of the guys in the top 10 right now.
Yeah. He's had like, I mean, one of the worst calls. He wasn't a good performance. He called out Dricus du Plessis, who's, could be fighting for the title next. He calls him. It's one of the worst calls since I did an interview with Josh Berkman, and he called for a fight with Conor McGregor in the peak of Conor McGregor's like popularity. And he was on like a 3-fight losing streak, or something like that. That said, being 5-0 in that division, he needs a ranked opponent, right?
He does need a ranked opponent, or at least a formerly ranked opponent with name value. So
like
you give
go in the right direction,
right? So like I don't think Kelvin Gastelum is ranked right now, but he has the combination of having been ranked fairly recently and the name value where he'd be perceived as a step up. Someone like that.
Well, Gastelum's going against. Isn't he going against Sean Brady?
Oh, that's right. Gastelum and Brady is coming up.
But like that point. But the point. The point is something like that.
The winner or the loser of that, or the winner or the loser of Deleeds versus Cannonier.
No, that's a different weight class, though. That's down a weight. Maybe Gastelum back down.
Oh, duh. Okay, yeah. So give him like either the winner or the loser of Deleeds versus Cannonier that are fighting in a couple weeks.
Okay.
I mean, the winner is going up the ladder, so maybe the loser of that fight.
Maybe the loser. Yeah. I was thinking more of that. I came with Marvin Vettori, just because. I mean, he's a character, but he is what he is at this point. Like, I wouldn't mind that as being, like a fight night main event, like a weaker fight night main event, or like a pay-per-view, like an opener on a pay-per-view.
Especially if you can give it some geographic relevance. If it's in Europe or if it's in Brazil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're not having them headline in Denver, know. If you have another like fight night, turnaround in Brazil soon,
Oh, James Curry with the save. Deleeds versus Cannonier is canceled.
Oh, there you go.
Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig, loser of that one. That works for me too.
Yeah, I think Cannonier got hurt. I think Cannonier out. Because Cannonier was going to step up and fight Shemaev, and I think like the day he I suppose according to him he actually accepted, and then he like tore something or he got some. I can't remember. I can't keep track of all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Brunson is in PFL, unfortunately, Luke. I'm not saying unfortunately in general, but just unfortunately for purposes of this matchmaking. Anyway,
Magomedov might be back in PFL too. I don't want to matchmake Magomedov at this point. To me, he's just another guy on the card.
Just another guy.
Before that, so I believe opening up the main card, I believe Elvis Brenner taking on Kenan Krashevsky,
Kenan Krashevsky,
I apologize to say his name wrong. The guy with like a Polish last name, but he's Brazilian, or Ukrainian last name is Brazilian. We didn't even preview this fight because Brenner was supposed to take on, I think it was Esteban Ribovic.
Yeah.
He dropped out this week, and this guy making his debut on like 3 days' notice or something. Usually, it's never bad making your debut. Like especially if you're now in the UFC, you take that chance, but you don't want to get face planted. Dude got face
knockout
planted.
Of the year candidate right there. That's about as knocked out as I've seen somebody from a single blow this year.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell the comment, and I like the commentary team. I'm not one of those guys who like to shit on them. Like I know some people they constantly shit on him. I thought they were bad in this fight. They were talking Krzyzewski up like he was winning, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He's getting tagged up. He's struggling with the speed. You know, he's losing the volume just because Brandon was, moving back and kind of L-stepping and this and that. I thought he was winning up to that point, and then he lands. I mean, he lands a perfectly placed shot. It's one of those ones where, I mean, it was behind the ear. Some people even say it was a little bit of the back of the head, but it's one of the ones you throw in front of the guy's ducking.
Yeah.
But that's the Matt Serra George St. Pierre spot. Like he caught him right there, and when you go out, that if you remember, that's how like Serra caught St. Pierre. St. Pierre fell forward first, and then on his way up, then that's when Serra hit him with another shot, which fell. He fell back and finished him. This kid Brenner, he's 26. I love that.
Me too. A couple people in the chat have pointed out this is the first time he won a fight and looked kind of like the more technical fighter doing it. Because being wild and athletic and dangerous, it's only going to get you so far. Like it's going to get you Terrence McKinney far. You need to have a little more for the guys that don't just disappear in the first 3 minutes. But he's promising as hell. He's at a good camp. He's at a good camp specifically for a guy in his weight range. And he's young. Got all the physical gifts.
Yeah, he's a hot team. He's 3-0 in the UFC. He's got, two, I don't want to say big names, but two really guys who got a lot of talent in his first 2 wins. And then this one, it is what it is. He beat a guy that got brought in for him, kind of more of a paycheck. But 26 years, he looks talented. Yeah, man, he's a guy his stock is rising. And this was not a guy I had on my radar coming in the UFC. I didn't think he was going to be rising up, but we don't do rookie of the year or anything like that for the Sherdog awards, right?
No, I mean the closest thing we do is
breakout.
Breakthrough fighter of the year, but they're usually someone who had been around for a minute.
Yeah, and it's like that upper. It's like the next tier up, like Sean Strickland.
Yeah.
Like Sean Strickland, even though he's been around forever, like he took a different he stepped up a different level. If we had like a true rookie of the year, as in first, taken as a UFC, makes your debut. Yeah, like you make your debut in the UFC in 1 year. I don't think he'd win because there's other guys that beat guys and get rankings and this and that, but he'd be a nominee maybe.
He'd be up there. I mean, it'd be like between him and Tatsuro Taira for me, probably.
Yeah, and that's probably other guys we're not thinking of. But yeah, I like Brenner. He's one of these guys. I put a little asterisk next to him, put some nice things. Before that is, and I realized my notes were a little bit out of order. When I wrote, I did what I normally don't do. I wrote my spots on a piece of papers that I want to have the fights leave enough space to talk about them. And then I don't know, I had the order wrong. So I apologize if I mess up here. But I think the fight before that was Alessio Selesky dos Santos taking on Hanat Fakhretdinov.
Yep.
The fight was a split decision draw. I think they announced Fakhretdinov had the one scorecard for him, but actually, I think they said afterwards it was supposed to be Dos Santos who got the one scorecard for him, but they said the opposite.
But it's a majority draw. Like there were 2 draw scorecards.
Oh, that's what I'm sorry. Yeah, majority. Did I put split? I'm sorry, majority draw.
Yeah, majority draw, 2 drawn scorecards, and 1 for Dos Santos.
Yeah, so a split draw would have been a split draw is when one guy gets one scorecard, one guy gets a scorecard, and the other guy gets a draw. Yeah, this was two draws. How did you score the fight? Because obviously this is the most closest contested fight.
I actually scored it a draw. I gave Dos Santos a 10-8 third round. I gave Fakhretdinov the first and second.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I saw a lot of scorecards. I saw most of the scorecards were either a draw or Fakhretdinov having 2 rounds to 1. I have a major issue with that. Because to me, if the third round's not a 10-8 round, then what the hell's a 10-8 round?
Yeah.
He hurt him with a body shot and then ended up hammer fisting him pretty much for the rest of the round.
Could have been stopped a couple times with.
Could have been stopped, yeah.
Yeah.
That said, there's one other scorecard that gets thrown out there, and it's mine. I gave Farquidinov a 10-8 round in the first.
Okay.
He dropped him, controlled him the entire round, beat him up from on top. The total strikes was like 47-6 or something like that. No, the third round was more dominant than the first. I know you could say, you can't count them equally, but then wasn't the second round closer than the first? Then why can that be a 10? Why can both of them be 10-9s? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, then
you could make an argument for 10-7 third round.
Right. And now, I mean, obviously we don't give 10-7s, but no, I mean, I scored the first round 10-9, but it's not like off the charts ridiculous. Like, it was a dominant round.
Yeah. So that's why my scorecard was 28-27. It's a very rare 28-27 scorecard for Farquidinov, but I had no problem with a draw. I'm glad that, it was either a draw or like I'm glad that Dos Santos didn't win.
Yeah.
Though in Pride rules, one championship he does.
Yeah, and considering that we both had Farquidinov in this fight, Dos Santos put on a hell of a performance. In his own way, it's kind of reminiscent of what Nicholas Dalby did further up the card. Just walked through some hell early, just showed incredible grit to go with his excellent skill set. Considering that I no longer consider Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos a future title contender, or probably even, he probably doesn't hit the top 10 again, but he showed he has a lot of gas left in his tank to pick up some bonuses, to beat some good guys, and to be a good test for maybe the next, the next round of top 10 fighters at welterweight. Like, he looked really good tonight, man.
Yeah. Farquidinov was the guy that a lot of people had a lot of excitement when he first, started this fight and dropped Zaleski in seconds. I'm thinking it's going to be like, oh my God, he just ran through Zaleski. Holy shit. Throw him in that tier that we always talk about of the new guys on the block, the Ian Garys, the Shavkat Rachmanov, the Sean Brady's, Jack Della Maddalena, like that. Like, okay, put him in. Obviously, it's a little more of pump the brakes. I'm not completely jumping off. I'm hoping what happened, because he was. I agree. I think it was a little bit of bond film to a different extent with Dos Santos. Obviously, he can't put nobody can put the pressure that Dalby did. But his was like weather the storm and then start coming back and force back, which is actually what Dalby did too. But Dalby was going right from the very first round. This was the case. Dos Santos on the third. But what I'm hoping is Farquidinov has a little bit of Michel Pereira moment where, it's fun to throw punches. Like, they always say when Joe Rogan's like, oh, it looks like he's throwing a fastball. And it's like, no, because the fastball's kind of controlled. You know what it looks like? It looks like the guy who just got the ball in the outfield, they bounce off the wall, and he's got to throw everything he has to get the ball in. And he's not even looking, just grabs it and throws. That's what he does. Like, he's
throwing like he's trying to hit his cutoff man desperately.
As far as he can, because the guy's coming around third and they need to get him out at home, So if he could control he's a good wrestler, he's got good power, but Jesus Christ, dude, like he's just swinging. Like, it looked like freaking here you go. This is for Ninja Kid, 1980s reference. It looks like Karate Kid 2 at the end, with just both arms are swinging both.
Oh, the drum technique.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I definitely think his stock went down. I mean, he was a huge favorite, didn't win, so his stock went down. I'm not and I saw people saying he was exposed, and people like I respect saying this. I'm not going that far, but yeah, I might get off at the next stop on the bandwagon.
Yeah, and I think he's 32.
That doesn't help.
Even just missing an opportunity to take a big step forward has to feel like a little bit of a loss.
It's funny because he was celebrating, like he was walking out, like high-fiving fans. I'm like, that's
not good, man.
It was a draw, but it seems like a win for Dos Santos, not for you.
Yeah, it's the same that I'll always feel when Nico Price and Cowboy Cerrone had their draw, and Cerrone looks dejected, and Nico Price looks like he wants to yell, "I'm going to Disneyland." You know,
Yeah. That's right.
it's that same kind of thing. Fakhretdinov should have been dejected by this draw.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And you mentioned it with the division. Welterweight's the freaking that's the one. I mean, Leon Edwards perfect one. You lose a fight at welterweight, you got to draw. You're damn, dude. You know, if your goal is to win the championship, and unfortunately, I mean, like Dolby mentioned, I want to win a title. Like that's cool. It's cool. You want to win a title. You're not in the real.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to win a title.
We've been using that. We've been using public transit references a lot tonight. Welterweight, it's like that stop way out of town where if you miss the bus, the next one isn't coming for a long ass time. Like I hope you got a Snickers bar and a scarf because yeah,
it's like when you jump on the bus. Like I don't know how it is in Houston, but in New England, you could jump on a bus at like 2 a.m. and you could be drunk at a bar and jump on a bus and fall asleep, and next minute you're like, "Holy Christ, I'm like an hour away from my house," because I just kept going, and the bus driver's waking you up and like, "Hey, dude, last stop." You're like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. You fall asleep on a bus at 2 a.m. in Houston. You wake up and be like, I'm not that far, but a crackhead stole my shoes.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true. Good point. Before that, Vita Petrino versus Modestas Bukauskas. Petrino winning by second round TKO. Of the people on the card that, to me was the guys that the UFC wanted to win, the kind of newer faces in the organization with promise, Almeida, Bonfim, I guess Bahayo, Fakhretdinov, Petrino, Gomez. Petrino's the only one that stock really went up to me. Like
just
some of them won, but the stock didn't go up.
Yeah, he won like you're supposed to if you're a future contender.
Yeah.
Like if you're a future contender, then you crush a dangerous but flawed fighter like Modestas Bukauskas, and that is exactly what he did. He never was really in much danger from Bukauskas' weapons, and when the opportunity presented itself, he ended the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy's undefeated. He's well-rounded. He's known for his grappling, but he obviously has some power. I mean, look at the guy. The guy's freaking ripped up. Obviously, he lands this perfectly short left hook. Wasn't much tell. Very, step right in, timed it perfect, looked good. How high you think this guy can go? Like, are you? And I know we always I hate saying we both hate doing it. Like, oh, he's gonna win the title one day. Like.
He will be in the title picture. He'll be a guy that we're talking about his fights in terms of immediate title implications within the next, I'd say, 18 to 24 months. It's a depleted division. So
yes.
A guy that is a finisher and hasn't fought anybody above him yet, it's about as greased as the rails can get for him. He's been fairly busy as well. So, yeah, I mean, he's a guy that 12, 18, 24 months from now will at least be talking about his fights in terms of immediate impact on the title picture.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, I don't know if he's going to win a title but to be a ranked guy, that's how I kind of more view it. In that division, he's in the right division. Now, if this was welterweight, this was bantamweight, I'd probably be a lot more cautious. But light heavyweight, I do think the division is getting better with Yuri Prohaska coming back, with Alex Pereira now in the division. I'm assuming Alexander Rakic should be coming back sooner rather than later. So I think it's a better division, and I'm sure there's a couple other guys that I'm not thinking of. But so, Magomed Ankalaev, it's ended his retirement or whatever that thing that was going on. So yeah, the division's starting to come around. So it might be a little bit longer road, but yeah, I think he could be in the mix. Like I definitely the guy in the first round was competitive. But I always thought Bukauskas was a little bit better than projected.
Yeah,
but this is what you do. This is how you show that you are that top guy, but putting a guy out. I mean, he woke up when he hit the mat, and he kind of woke up. But I saw some people complaining about got to jump in. He's like, oh, as soon as he hit the mat, he jumped in. But no, because he went stiff when he got hit.
He was out.
He was out, and he woke up. He hit the back, woke back up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely. Anything else you want to say about Petrino before we move on?
No, just I props to Mark Goddard. It was a good stop in a situation where it would have been easy to botch the stop. So,
yeah, another one of these veterans, tough veterans versus rising stars. Angela Hill took on Denise Gomez. Hill's going to be a tough.
I said this. It's only as hard to beat Angela Hill as you want to make it. The running straight at her for for like trying to get clinch takedowns is giving Angela Hill her best path to victory. Like, she won such an Angela Hill fight against Gomez tonight.
Well, yeah and no. Like, do you want to wrestle Angela Hill? Okay,
the third round where Hill was like dragging her to the ground repeatedly, getting mat returns, that was pretty cool.
And that was one of the knocks on Angela Hill is always she never had the best fight IQ. She's starting to become that crafty veteran. Like she's being the person that used to always beat her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is not a good sign for Gomez, who has to get beat up. I mean, beat up in the clinch it is what it is. I always thought Hill was a little underrated there, but be taken down and struggling to get back to your feet in a close fight. Like, I had a 1-1 heading into the third round, but she got dominant in the third. She was fading. Every minute this fight went on, it started siding a little bit more with Hill. Even the rounds, like, I thought she lost the first round, but every minute of that first round, like, I was liking Hill more and more better. Hill's tough. I mean, we said it before, if you beat Hill, you're good. Denise Gomez not good yet.
Yeah, and at least not yet. Bad showing for her, for sure.
Yeah, and I definitely, my stock based on that wrestling. People mention Loma Labumi out wrestling her. Yeah, and she hasn't improved. That's an issue.
Man, for the first time in the several years that we've been doing these shows together, my notes for our next Angela Hill fight are going to be different.
yeah, we actually mentioned, like, hey, she might wrestle. So before that, Montserrat Ruiz took on Eduardo Mora. Yeah. Like, this was an add-a-weight fighting a welterweight. I mean, Mora was humongous next to Ruiz. Makes it worse that she missed weight, and she didn't miss it by half a pound. She missed it by like she was closer to flyweight than she was strawweight.
I mean, she weighed in 119 and a half, so almost halfway to the next weight class.
Yeah.
Fights have been canceled for less.
Yeah.
I mean, hell,
Vince Michelle wouldn't take his opponent because he wouldn't make it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ismael Bonfim missed by just barely more than this, and as an actual percentage of their body weight, she missed weight worse than Ismael Bonfim. Because, if you're a 155-pound person, missing like an extra 5 pounds means less than if you're a 115-pound person. Yeah, she actually had the worst miss on the card proportionally. The fight went on, an already undersized opponent, and Montserrat Ruiz does not have an answer when someone else takes her down.
It looked like when I coach wrestling and I'm not there's a bunch of coaches, but we kind of have two groups of wrestlers. We have like the smallest guy. We have a huge team, so that's to fit everybody live wrestling without a heavyweight falling on a freaking 8-year-old. We kind of have like this group of small guys come out first. They wrestle hard, and then the next they go out. Big guys come out, little guys come out, big guys. We take kind of turns. But we do, you've been the wrestling. We do like, I wrestle someone. All right, grab a new partner this time, and then there's going to be time the 8-year-olds with the 12-year-olds. That's what it looked like. And you got to say, but I'll say the 12-year-old, like, hey, don't muscle them, do technique, work with them. Like this, my son being 8, there's some 12-year-olds that fantastic work. You learn from them. If you do the move right, they let you take them down. This looked like the 12-year-old's not going to work with you because there's 12-year-olds who take my son and slam him around, and slam the other 8-year-olds around too. That's what this looked like. Like I'm gonna slam your ass around. Like the tough shit I used to get slammed around. Now it's my turn to slam. Her striking looked better than I thought, and I think that threat of the takedowns did that. Where she's taking on Ruiz so much that when just that threat. She started landing her jab. She was landing like some straight rights. And her ground game is legit. I mean, she had a sweep off her back. She was chain wrestling. She was controlling. Yeah, you can't feel good about her missing weight moving forward, and it's definitely like an asterisk next to this win. But overall, I mean, I think Mara's going to be a real good addition to the UFC.
Agreed. Like, she's definitely gonna resemble Ronda more than the other chick that calls herself Ronda.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Anything else you want to say about this one?
Nope.
Okay. And your favorite fighter?
Please allow me. We're talking about Jacqueline versus Fernandez, correct?
Yeah, good.
All right. There were 3 fights on this card where you and I disagreed in our pick.
Okay.
That happens. We usually disagree a couple times a card.
Sure.
Props here, because not only were you right, but you nailed this one, and I got it dead wrong. I thought
I didn't want to nail this one.
well, yeah, I mean, you opened up our preview by essentially calling for a terrible, boring Mark Jacqueline fight, and damned if you weren't right. I thought Fernandez would be able to at least keep Jacqueline on the feet and kind of turn him into 3 strikes around Mark Jacqueline, but nope. Jacqueline absolutely washed him with the wrestling, just like you called it, and I am sorry on several levels that you were so right.
Yeah, shout out to Luke Wilson talking about the lazy lateral drop he hit. Though that was nice in the first, but the rest of the fight was boring. He was landing a little bit more on his feet as the fight went on, specifically straight left, and I think it's similar. We just talked about Mora with the threat of the wrestling, open up his hands a little bit more, but. Yeah, he just played it safe. I mean, went wrestling. DKC looks like the black English Bo Nickel. Like the guy can wrestle. So very surprised by the split on that one. It was a split decision. I don't know what the hell that like the first round, maybe. Like the first round, the Fernandez had moments in the first round, like he was landing early before it got taken down and controlled and beat up on the ground. But second and third, he was on his back. I mean, third round, that was. I mean, even the second. I don't know how you can.
If Fernandez got a card from one of the judges, Derrick Lewis could have.
Yeah, Lewis didn't get control, but he landed 3 elbows on his way up, something like that. I think that was one of the worst. So there you guys have it. We have covered all 10 fights. This is I never get excited when fights get canceled. Like I don't. Like especially if we previewed it. Like I had to do this tape study and we talked about it. I don't want to be canceled. This one I don't mind. Like I don't and nothing against the fights that get canceled. Just this fucking card.
Duh.
Like having Mark Diakese be extremely boring to start the card and Jailton Almeida finishing it the same way. Like just that's just perfect. Just a freaking just sums it up.
It's the circle of life.
Yeah. All right. Let's get the Bulls and the Bears. Let's get the fun stuff. Cutlass. Ben, tell me who and shout out to you guys. You guys say who you want to be cut from the UFC. I'm sure someone's gonna say Jailton Almeida, something like that, but we'll try to be serious. Who do you have on your cut list?
Oh, I have one. Do I have two? Wow. Am I going to be this merciful? Yeah, I have one fighter on my cut list.
Is your fighter Dontel Mays?
It is not Dontel Mays.
Oh.
Normally, I would not advocate for cutting a fighter whose opponent missed weight so badly, but Montserrat Ruiz has now lost 375 fights in a row, all by...
She's actually lost to good people, though. That's the problem. She really has.
Well, you know who else has good people? Invicta, and they also have an atomweight division. Go.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And I am the Invicta guru, being that I was just at their last show.
Yeah. I mean, if someone wants to give her job a stay of execution because Mora blew weight so bad, and everyone that Ruiz has lost to is either a current or future top 10 fighter, I'm fine with that. But then someone's got to go, and it can be Mays. He won one fight ago, but it was against the ghost of Andrei Arlovsky.
Yeah.
And Mays is just terrible.
All right. The reason why I asked you how many people you had in your cut list
Uh-oh.
Even though I just been shitting all over this card, Ben, I have nobody. And I was trying to find somebody, and I always kept finding a reason why they can't be cut. As far as Ruiz, it's what you said. I can't cut her when she was giving up all that weight. Her opponent, like, to me, it's not even like a loss. Like, she should have turned the fight down. Like, she said, no, like she meant too much. That's amazing. Yeah, I know.
If she turned it down, she'd be on the real cut list.
Yeah, exactly. That's absolutely right. He did just. I mean, it is the old. It's hard cutting heavyweights because the division already is super shallow. But he's only on a 1-fight losing streak. I don't know. I'm being nice, I guess, or maybe I'm being too lazy to go through the cut list. Yeah. So, yeah, the rare Shillan and Duffy show. And Keith Shillan being it's getting close to the holiday season. It's already November. I'm saving some people. I'm sure there's some holiday for somebody somewhere. So. Let's do the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and the Bears are a stock market reference. You want to be on the Bulls list, that means your stock went up. You don't want to be in the Bears list, that means your stock went down. We do it 3-2-1 style. Do you want to go positive? Or you want to go negative?
Oh, let's go positive since we were so nice on the cut list.
All right. So we do a hockey style 3-2-1. You mind if I go first?
Go for it.
I'm gonna go with Elvis Brenner. The reason why I want to go with Elvis Brenner, yeah, he got an opponent on a couple of days' notice, but how he finished him and being 3-0, being only 26, being with the right team, being like Charles Oliveira, little student, and everything seems like it's going perfect for this guy right now. So to me, his stock just continues to rise. My number 2 is I'm going to go Nicholas Dalby. Huge upset win, 4 wins in a row. He's a guy, yeah, he's talking about I want to be a champion one day and all that. That's cool. It's not going to happen, but hell, dude, we're going to enjoy your run, as long as it lasts. So
yes,
we'll be cheering for you.
He's firmly one of our guys at this point.
Yeah. I love that guy. And my number 1, I'm going to go with a guy in the prelims, which is kind of rare. That's how bad that the main card was. I'm going to go with Petrino. Undefeated, 3-0 in the UFC, only 26 years old, big stoppage. You're talking about him, being a contender. To me, his stock rose. Who you got?
Only ones I will add to this are, because I agree with all yours. So rather than come up with 3 whole other ones, I'll go Angela Hill. She won a fight that she was not favored to win. She did it by against all odds as she pushes 40, showing both a new wrinkle skill-wise and the fight IQ to actually employ it, neither of which have been part of the Angela Hill playbook over the long, long time that we've known her as a fighter. And I will just throw out, generally speaking, wrestling. A couple of people won their fights tonight purely on wrestling in a way that we don't always see. I mean, from Almeida down to through Hill and down to Mark Diakiese in the opener, as you kind of pointed out. It's a good night for wrestling, even if the results of that wrestling were not always the most enjoyable to watch.
And wrestling, NCAA wrestling is back. International wrestling, the Olympics is this year. We have Jordan Burroughs already making Olympic weight. Some people think he's the GOAT. So that's always exciting. The Bears, these people's list you don't want to be on. Again, we'll do it 3-2-1 style. I'm going to go with Denise Gomez. Gomes, I'm sorry. She wasn't a big favorite. I think she was a very slight favorite. Angela Hill was definitely a step up in competition. Losing to Angela Hill is not why you're on this list, but how losing. Being out wrestled by Angela Hill, that's not a good sign. There is a clear weakness in your game that's going to continue to be exposed by a lot of people.
Literally every single woman in the division was like, oh, I could do that.
Yeah, a lot of them. So, it's been 2 fighters now. Luke Boomy, I think we gave her a little bit of pass because, earlier in her career, but now it's you can't be happening. My number 2, Hanat Fakhretdinov. Just what he said. Didn't jump into that new exciting. I know he's older too, but new exciting guy in the division. One of these guys that you think might stop beating some of the top talent. Didn't make that jump tonight. And my number one, I wanted to put Jailton Almeida, but I mean, he's still got the biggest win of his career. So I'm going to go with Gabriel Bonfim. I mean, he's only 26 years old, so I'm not pushing him down stock too much, but we've said this countless number of times of your bingo card, or you're doing a shot, losing that O on your record always. I mean, it's why Islam Makhachev and Habib Nurmagomedov are not viewed the same way.
Yeah.
Who do you got?
Again, I agree with all yours. All I'll add to that is I would expand Gabriel Bonfim to the Bonfim brothers in general, because Gabriel Bonfim we'll have to look at the math at the end of the year, but he might be the wrong end of the biggest statistical upset in the UFC this year.
That's a good call.
Bigger underdog than Sean Strickland, bigger. And then Ismail Bonfim somehow had an even worse week. Just, had no fight at all in a way that made him not look great. From there, I will just go to short notice fighters. I mean, they always have a tough road to hoe, but usually in one of the short notice fighters on any UFC card, we either have an upset win or we have somebody that really stands out and gets themselves some. I mean, the classic example would always be Lando Venata, who even in a loss gave himself a brand that he's carried to this day. But I mean, you look at Montserrat Ruiz, Kanan Khrushchevsky, and Derrick Lewis, there are no wins at all. Like, there's no positive takeaways from any of those guys.
No moral victories. No. And you know what? This continues over to the last card. I mean, Alex Volkanovski, Kamaru Usman. I mean, there's some more victories for Usman, but absolutely good call.
Yeah, bad stuff. So those are the only two things I'd add.
All right, let's get to dudes seriously. You have any dudes seriouslys?
Oh, I feel bad doing this after you kind of showed forbearance, and uncharacteristic for me, I had the sound on the whole time tonight.
Nice. All right.
It was a bad night for the booth. I'm just talking about bad, biased calls. Like, just so much of feeding into the narrative of whichever fighter was either favored to win or the UFC reasonably expected to win. And from the top, for Almeida, they're talking up Almeida's, like, he's wearing down Lewis. He's getting him tired. Lewis was the same for 5 rounds, while Almeida visibly got more and more tired. And Lewis had more and more signs of light as it went along. Like, what fight are you watching? I'm watching Almeida show no sense of urgency and yet somehow wear himself out. Just weird, biased calls all the way down. And I don't mind. I don't care if I can tell who the people in the booth are personally rooting for. I don't mind that at all. Like, I thought it was just fine when Cruz called Jessica Penne fight, like a longtime teammate of his, and was just openly happy about it when she got a win. As long as you're calling the actual action as straight as you can, like, fine. Yeah. But here, Bisping in particular, you could tell. I forget whether it was in here or in the Sherdog Slack, but Dev said that, like, when Jacasey won, he thought Bisping was going to come out and get down on one knee. That's the most happy I've ever seen Michael Bisping to be about successful wrestling in his entire life.
Supposedly his son is a good wrestler.
But yeah, because he's American.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, Bisping's been in LA longer than, like, half the Brazilian fighters in the UFC. Yeah.
Yeah. You got any more?
Luke Wilson and John Butterfield. I'll just read theirs off because I agree with both. Dude, seriously, Almeida saying he put on a show in the post-fight interview. Yeah. No, he put on the best possible case for changing the MMA rules to allow stand-ups from mountainside control. And Luke Wilson, John Butterfield, always advertising Power Slap.
I know.
I learned tonight for the first time that apparently Power Slap has a reality house show like Tough.
Yeah. Then the house and, like, what do you? I've never watched a single second of Slap. Like, I mean, I'm in the highlights, but I'm saying, like, I haven't watched the show or anything like that.
Well, I can't imagine.
I just have no interest.
And like, from the highlights, I've already seen anything I could possibly care to see because they constantly show dudes getting knocked out with a slap.
Yeah, and I'm like, if I'm really good at this slapping thing, and me and you want to, but, like, don't I pick to go first? because I hit you and you go out.
Yeah, it's
There's no defense. And then
no
if
defense.
you don't go out, aren't you like kind of fucked up? Like, are you gonna be able to hit me your best now? Because I just slapped you. Or, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think I
hell,
need to.
I mean, if you and I had a slap battle and I got to go first, I'd slap you as hard as I possibly could, and then be like, "You win, I forfeit," and like walk away. Like Keith is the Sherdog slap champ.
You know, what'd be more entertaining is if instead of like you slap me and then I slap you, what if they both wind up and slapped each other at the same time?
Whew. I think we have a lot of double knockouts.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. None of it's gonna be entertaining. I just like you can't duck, you can't. But like more like jousting. Like maybe if you flinch this way, that I don't know. Like you flinch, your shot's not gonna be as hard, or I don't know. I don't know. What the hell are we talking about slap for? All right, I'll give you some. Dude, seriously, Mara calling out Diana Belbita, like 2-4 Diana Belbita, who calls her out. Then she says, "I'm gonna make her bark like a dog." Like,
Well,
dude,
you
seriously?
need dude, just get a subscription to her OnlyFans and probably get it there.
Yeah. I know people are talking that they've been beefing on Instagram. Just a weird, but like very random rivalry. Dude, seriously, there were so many dropouts on this card that I think Elvis Brenner's hairline also dropped out. Like, what the hell, dude? Seriously, like it's time. It's time to shave that shit. Go completely bald. Like his hairline like starts in the middle of his head. Like, dude, seriously.
His cardio is apparently him winning a race with his hair. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
mean, I
what's
get
going
it,
on.
dude. I'm getting older myself. It's going back there too. But Jesus Christ, dude, the guy's like 26. Guy looks like he's 86. My last one, dude. Seriously, the UFC during the pre-fight of Nascimento versus Mays tried to pretend like it was like one of these great all-time rivalries. Like,
It was Hunt versus Cepho, man. Like, it
oh
was,
my god, they were saying like, oh, and the rivals will meet again or something like that. Like,
the rivals will meet again.
Is Chuck and Randy going on? What the hell's going on here?
I mean, just those guys even remember that they fought each other. Like,
yeah. All right, let's get to the grade. What's your grade for this card?
D.
Yeah.
What little, and the funny thing is, on the way in, we said on paper this might be the best free fight night card of the year. It had everything you could possibly want. It had geographic relevance. It had rankings relevance, at least at the top of the card. It had some of the top prospects in the UFC. It had some very obvious action fights, and it lost everything. It lost several fights, including some of the top prospects, like we lost Ismail Bonfim. Some of the action fights panned out into whatever. The main event managed to move neither guy closer to the title. It went from an A to a D like in the last 72 hours.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Are you sticking with Marcus Mustard as your listener of the evening?
You know what? Like, everyone clearly bristled at that and was like, "Oh, you're declaring the winner at halftime," and stepped up their game. I said what I said. Marcus Mustard wins tonight for slaying me with that. But this was an incredible night for the chat. I love how this group, our people, kind of step up for the worst cards. You know?
Yeah.
Like the worst cards bring the best out of us. You know?
Yeah. John Butterfield was on fire tonight.
Yeah.
Ninja Kitty was great. Alan McDonald.
Yeah. I mean,
Boss, a couple of new people.
John Butterfield being like, okay, well, if you say I'm an industry guy and I can't win, then I'm just going to come in here and be the spoiler and start dunking all over these people. You know, I see you, John. Boss bringing the effort. Boss doesn't just like show up and accept his like crown and scepter anymore as kind of the OG of OGs. He's like, I'm gonna score some points here. Yeah.
Yeah, my boy Luke Wilson, Dev. Obviously, Dev doesn't count. Dev officially doesn't count. Like he doesn't. When you host the show, and Luke's done it too. We gotta get Luke on again. And anybody else, guys, if you guys want to come on, if you're usual, message us. We'll get you on.
Dude,
you don't here's
how spoiled people are.
You don't have to be a professional. We're not professional.
Yeah,
So.
Adam, Adam Duffy I was going to have him jump in and join us for the Bahalio recap part. Just, jump in, stick me in the middle of the screen with the split down at whatever. Just because, he's really jazzed about Bahalio. And afterwards, he's like, nah, screw it. The fight was so bad. He was like, forget this.
Yeah. That's great. I'm going to do, what? I'm going to pick one of those guys that we always say is not eligible. I'm going to give it to Bass. Bass hasn't got one forever. He absolutely crushed it. Him and John Butterfield neck and neck. So I'm going to go with my man Bass. Bass, congratulations, you're my listener of the night. Big card coming up, UFC 295, New York City. I was originally going to go to the card. Unfortunately, things have changed, so I'm actually not going to be covering it, which is good and bad, I guess. I know it depends on how you want to look at it, which means I will be for the recap show. One housekeeping, the preview show is actually going to be out one day later, because Ben is super gracious to me. I have a crazy day tomorrow, so we're actually going to tape it Monday night, so I apologize for that, but it will be up early Tuesday morning. Before I forget, I want to shout out to the Coventry Bears flag football team. 10 o'clock in the morning, my son is going for the championship. 2 years in a row they made it to the championship. Last year we lost in the championship. This year we're going to win it. Considering we've played the same team a bunch of times this year and crushed them every time, we should hopefully win it. And also shout out to the Rhode Island Bombers softball team. The same day is in the semifinals of the Thanksgiving tournament. Semifinals and finals the same day. Hopefully they win all that, be the last tournament before a big winter off. So I'm hoping both my kids come home with titles, hopefully. If not, I still love them, just not as much.
Hey, I already said Adam didn't come on the show tonight just because the fight was bad. I see you, kid. All right.
So there you have it. He's Ben. I'm Keith. We'll be back. Thank you guys for joining us as always. Yeah, let's do better next time. Hopefully the pay-per-view will be better, but I still had fun. So see you guys.